So right now, Microsoft has done an okay job of getting some people back on board with Xbox. There's a little bit of excitement there, and that's one of the things that honestly we have to look at and say, okay, they did a good job there. But I think to carry on with any of this, with any kind of semblance of, attractiveness for the brand, or, maybe some, you have some hype or hope from fans. I've noticed there is some renewed hope there, which is weird to me because so many people were claiming they believed in Phil and Sarah and everybody, and now they, by the relief and the renewed hope that we see online, it's like, clearly they didn't necessarily believe in those people in getting something done. So, we'll see what's going on. But again, it's going to take a little bit of time to see how this is going to work out. I don't know what Microsoft's plans are ultimately, and I don't think anybody does, but this is something that, we could see happening before too long. I think the main thing that Microsoft has to do is they have to be clear, right? Like beyond clear. There's been so much back and forth, right? Starting back with, 2020, the end of 2023, rumors started coming out that Microsoft was going to be full multi-platform. Then it got so bad that Microsoft held that emergency meeting and we're like, no, it's just 4 games, which that turned out to be a complete lie. Like, you can't start your relationship off with fans on a consumer product like that. And I think that's something that Microsoft absolutely has to do better of, right? And so if they do better at that, then maybe we'll get something, something what happened. But again, it's going to be super interesting to see how all this stuff kind of works out, and if Microsoft can actually change anything, right? Like, that's going to be the very interesting part of all of this, and hopefully they do a good job, right? I want to see them compete. I'm sure a lot of you want to see them compete as well. What good is it if they aren't competing? If they're not out there doing things to kind of compete and get, Xbox brand back in the forefront and stuff like that. I think it doesn't do any good to change leadership or do any of the stuff that's been done so far. So, we'll see how this all works. But anyway, the interesting thing is that it looks like there's already a little bit of confusion, which is like super unfortunate. Is Xbox ending? The official answer is no, but a recent interview clearly caused panic as there's been a spike in searches for questions like these. Amidst all the chaos surrounding the leadership changes at Xbox, there was an excerpt from an interview with Seamus Blackley. I actually talked about that a little bit, in which he gave some advice to new Xbox boss Ashish Sharma. However, the big quote from the interview that got most of the attention was that Xbox, like a lot of businesses that aren't the core AI business, is being sunsetted. And here's what he talked about. He said, Satya Nadella has made an incredible number of bets and invested an incredible amount of money and credibility in the transformed model AI future. Xbox, like a lot of businesses that aren't the core AI business, is being sunsetted. They don't say that, but that's what's happening. I expect the new CEO, Ashish Sharma, her job is going to be as a palliative care doctor who slides Xbox gently into the night. Now, this very quickly sparked a huge number of new articles and social media posts and videos, and clearly those had a big effect as recently as even yesterday. Google was hit with plenty of searches about whether Xbox was coming to an end, being discontinued, shutting down, ending, and a lot of other various kind of forms of the question. Like, is Xbox being discontinued? There was a lot of change in that. Is Xbox coming to an end? Xbox shutting down? Xbox ending? Xbox no longer making consoles, up 600%. Is Xbox coming to an end, up 2,450%. So if you go down the list, these rising queries are all still regarded the same topic until you get to around number 15 position. It's amazing what the power of media and YouTube and social media traction can generate. Blackley himself was clearly inundated with questions about Xbox being sunsetted and ending, as he took to social media to mention how he does not believe Xbox is dead, but that the progress requires introspection and realism. He says, quote, "I've been asked 59 times now due to the article if I believe Xbox is dead. No, I love Xbox as my own flesh and blood. It's the most wonderful thing to me. The distress in it, and it kills me, it haunts me, but progress requires introspectivism and realism. Learning is pain." So it's understandable that someone so heavily connected to Xbox's legacy can cause panic when they suggest the brand is being sunsetted, especially when the message gets a little distorted when it gets posted out on social media. It is worth noting that Blackley doesn't work for Xbox anymore, and he hasn't for like 20 years. He was simply asked for his opinion. A legend such as himself would always be asked for his opinion on matters like this, and he gave it. It doesn't mean that Xbox is ending. The answer to that is still no from an official standpoint. The initial quote does sound very doom and gloom at first glance, but his follow-up post about Xbox not being dead is much more reassuring of a read. Although, I mean, listen, that's his opinion. He can have it. For what it's worth, fellow Xbox boss Peter Moore also spoke to GamesBeat recently and told the outlet the Xbox brand is not something that they could replace quickly, and that it's an important part of Microsoft's business. He said this, quote, "I saw Seamus's comments. I hope he's a little misguided. The division that did $24 billion last year, it's 8% gross of revenues. It's not something that they could replace quickly. I get that the operating margins aren't what productivity and cloud are for Microsoft, but it's an important part of their business. It puts Microsoft in the living room. It puts Microsoft in the world of entertainment. It puts Microsoft closer to the consumer. It emboldens Microsoft and not just production company. That always what we wanted to do, and what Xbox in particular was meant to be." Here's the thing: it's easy to say, definitively say that Xbox won't ever end or be sunsetted. You can't say that, and no one else can say that either. There's also, there's a lot of talk. There's always going to be talk about this stuff. It's the celebratory 25th year of Xbox as a brand. There is, a lot of games that are supposed to be releasing this year. Supposedly a new console / PC in the works. Matt Booty literally said the other day how Xbox wouldn't become just a publisher, back away from hardware. But again, you have to really kind of look at it and say, okay, well, they say they won't back away from hardware. What does that exactly mean? I think that is a question in and of itself. Realistically, that could mean anything. They have that Asus ROG Ally, and that's not them actually making hardware, but they got somebody else to do it for them. I mean, that could be something that they do with Xbox in the future as well, which again, that's going to be a super interesting situation to kind of see out to fruition as well. Like a lot of rumors about, these types of things where that like some other company might make a spec of Xbox or whatever, OEMs or whatever the case may be. So, we'll see how that kind of works and how that goes, but I do think that Microsoft is definitely in for a bumpy little bit of time, and they need to be very clear and concise with what they say. That's something that they realistically has to do. Again, that's the thing that I think needs to be made more clear than ever, is that, hey, yeah, we have, this company, yeah, we're going to make Xbox the focal point again, which it never should have went away from being the focal point. But how do you do that unless you change other things and make the exclusives come back and stuff like that? I think that's something that, we have to look at, and we have to kind of make sure that, fans kind of know what to expect. And not just fans, but you have to, know kind of, know what they're going to be doing. You have to be honest and upfront. And if you're not honest and upfront, then I don't think any of this other stuff matters. So hopefully we get that from Microsoft sooner rather than later. I would love to see something new come from this, and something where Xbox can actually be competitive. I hope whatever it is that they do decide to do, I hope that it's something that is different than what was planned out from the previous regime, right? Like it has to be. You can't just do what they were going to do, because that, in my opinion, just doesn't really work. And, that's something that I feel is going to be very interesting. Like, again, like so far, like I felt Microsoft, the way that they handled the 25th anniversary has been really bad. Like so far for this year, most of the stuff that we got announced was, oh, you're losing all your exclusives, including Halo and Fable's going day one to PlayStation. Realistically, that's not how you want to celebrate 25 years of a brand that you've like spent thousands and thousands of dollars on, and that's honestly how I feel about it. It's like they really went about kind of rubbing this stuff in our noses, and oh, this is an Xbox. It's like, come on, 25 years with a brand, and this is how you repay us by saying that a phone is an Xbox or a watch is an Xbox? Like, that stuff isn't an Xbox. Get out of here. I just wish they would have been a little bit smarter with that stuff. But I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. Let me know. Sound off, rate, comment, subscribe. That stuff helps out the channel tremendously. Have a great day. Rack 'em up. Crab Gamer out.